and now here to give us his thoughts as well. Javy, welcome.
Hey guys, good to see you again. Laurie, seeing you again, man.
And you, man, how you doing?
Great to see you again, man. It's flown by since the pre-season. I know it was 3 weeks ago or whatever, but here we are. Premier League's back.
Yeah, man, it is back, and it's kind of crazy. And funnily enough, I'm actually going to go out to LA next week, so that whole thing kind of did not work out for me. But yeah, man, it's good. It's exciting to be back. Those first couple of minutes, it was nice to just remember how much I love Arsenal and how much I love watching these guys. So it was good. Really good to be back.
Yeah, I completely agree. I felt a little bit like that. Today I was probably a little bit giddy, with some of the football. And yeah, maybe overall it wasn't our best. I thought there were some nice moments in there. I think what I did like, though, was just being back, Emirates crowd, sunny August day, and we picked up 3 points. But he went with something different tactically, Javy, and I want to know what you make of that, because the debate is stick to what you know, slap them 4-0, get on with it. And then the other is, well, hold on, we're trying to evolve as a team. And there's growing pains. So where do you sit on it all?
I like the flexibility. It's really not that different to what we usually do. I just think it gives us a bit more defensive solidity while still being able to maintain, having 5 main guys in attack. The difference being that we don't really have a fullback that's inverting and joining the attack. We saw, Guardiola really utilize that similar system, last year. And I think that's something that we're probably going to have to utilize in Champions League and against the big teams like a City or a Liverpool, who are going to give us much more trouble defensively. And whether or not it was best to be using that today, I think that in preseason, we were only able to try that against United, and it didn't really work apart from those first 20 minutes. So you have to try it eventually, and maybe at home against Nottingham Forest, getting the players comfortable with it. It's what we needed to do. So I'm all for it. It's going to take some time, but I think that when Zinni plays in this team, you're going to see the more traditional 2-3-5 that we've been used to. So I think ebbs and flows.
I agree. I think when Zinni's in, you're going to see that cutting edge, like through the lines and all that come. I think we lacked that a little bit today. Did it look to you like a 3-4-3 diamond in that second half? Like, I saw Partey very much at the base, Rice and Ødegaard either side, and then Havertz playing off Eddie. So we saw even a second tactical tweak in that game to what we saw in the first half. Arteta's really just trying to give clubs different problems.
Yeah, Rice, as we saw, was drifting more towards, that wide line, sort of close to Martinelli. So that was kind of interesting to see. But funnily enough, the 3-4-3 diamond was actually employed by Cruyff in the early 90s, and that's how Barcelona and probably Mikel grew up playing. That's why Piqué wore the number 3 shirt, because the 3 was the middle center back in their setup. So it is something that he grew up with, and it is something that he is familiar with, the 3-4-3 diamond. Usually utilized when you play against a 4-4-2, you're able to have numerical superiority, and you have 3 defenders who can target the 2 strikers. That way, if one wins that individual duel, you don't have somebody running in on a 1v1. You still have that extra cover, but you get that extra man in midfield. But if we could touch on one thing, James, apart from the tactics, is what Laurie was touching on in those first 20 minutes, because I think it's important that we identify the difference between a slow start versus a lethargic start regarding tempo that we saw in the second half. I wasn't worried, and I understand where Laurie was coming from, but I don't look at a slow tempo. I look at the intensity of these players, and those are 2 very different things. Because when we lost the ball, the intensity to recover it shows that the players are on it. So then all it takes is that half a second, run, that little exploitation of space, and then boom, you unlock it. And we saw that. But in the second half, that intensity wasn't there. The intensity to want to go and recover the ball, it wasn't there. And so then you just have this lethargic and very slow approach towards the game. And then you see the other team just sort of, raises in confidence, and they come for you. And even though we walked away from all 3 points, I sort of left somewhat disappointed, because it seems like it's that same ugly habit that we saw last season of going 2-0 up and then sort of, dropping our intensity. And this title can really come down to goal difference. This is something that these players, for whatever reason, don't really seem to understand. This is a league title that could very well come down to goal difference. So the fact that they don't have that killer instinct, it annoys me. And I know it's only the first game of the season, but come on.
It's actually a great point having
it's a good
about
point.
intensity in that first half.
A lot of people have made a lot of what Pep did to Haaland at half time. Some people said it was for show. I personally don't think so. Or if it maybe a little bit might have been for show, but I think that is a manager enforcing standards at his club. And I think that you are right. I think we did drop off a little bit in the second half. The intensity did drop. And as I was saying to James, you're 2-0 up, but if, and it did happen, Forest get a goal fairly late in the game, all of a sudden, they're believing that they've got half a chance of getting something out of the game. You know what I mean? That's why those 2-0 leads can be quite precarious, because, you know what I mean, all of the team's scores,
I think
suddenly
right.
it's a different match.
Javy, I think you're right about intensity. We were actually talking about this. Do you remember in New Jersey we were talking about how when we conceded the goals to Liverpool and West Ham, the first goals when we were 2-0 up in both those games, and everyone talks about the errors, the mistakes, the Xhaka moment, the Gabriel penalty, and we talked about that 10 minutes before where the intensity dropped massively and we allowed them back in. Arsenal do have these ability, and I'm not, you can't always be full throttle press, I agree, but I think you've got to be one of two things, either super intense off the ball or super intense on the ball. And in that first half, on the ball, we weren't at our best. We had some moments, but you're right, off the ball, brilliant. But in that second half, okay, if we're not going to chase and all that, we want to drop into shape, cool. But when we've got it, let's try and get that goal. We've talked about Havertz a little bit, not driving into space when it was there. We talked about sometimes we did get in and around the penalty area, not making something happen from it. So Arsenal's second half was just a little bit like, we should be fine. And they were fine, but that won't cut it against Palace on Monday night. You know, that unfortunately the Premier League doesn't allow that, you know, across more games.
Yeah, and listen, I think that the difference between being a good team and becoming a champion is we all walked into this game with the understanding that anything short of 3 points was a failure.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that in order for you to make that next jump to go from we were almost there to okay, we can go over the line, is having the understanding of like, okay, we're supposed to win, but it's the matter of how we're going to win. And I think that if you walk away thinking to yourself, 2-1 against Nottingham Forest at home, we should have realistically put 3-4 past them, we should have gotten a clean sheet. What does that say regarding a statement from the psychological aspect? Goal difference could be, you know, a factor in the league title. Not good enough, boys. Let's go again. Just walking away and saying, all right, we got the 3 points. I don't think that's good enough if you really want to go that extra level. Because then the day that you have a day off, you still walk away with 3 points. So shoot for a 3-4-0 against these guys at home, and anything less, be disappointed. That way, the day you do fall short, you still walk away with 3 points. But there's no reason why we're hanging, you know, to a lead in the last 10 minutes against Nottingham Forest at home. There's no reason for that.
Yeah.
It kind of just, you know, it clouds what should have been a very, very positive, good day with 2 spectacular goals. You know, we should have been walking away super elated, and yet we're here talking on some of the negatives.
And there were some fantastic positives and moments, as we've touched on.
I do agree with you absolutely on those points, actually.
Yeah.
I do agree with you,
Yeah, fair. Javy, always a pleasure having you on. We'll hopefully see you next week after the Palace game.
Take care, bro.
For sure, my man.
Nice.
Both of you take care of yourself. Enjoy yourselves. Be safe.
Have a nice weekend.
And
Take
you.
care.
See you
Bye.
soon.